I'm James Hogan.
And I'm Stacy Miller, and this is the March 2025 edition of Western Wednesdays.
Stacy, happy March.
Happy March, it's here.
Oh
Spring.
my gosh, it is here. And boy, oh boy, do we have a really fun interview for you today on Western Wednesdays. Finch! I was going to say, I've got one word on my mind, Stacy. Can you guess what it is? It's Finch! This is going to make sense in just a few minutes, but we have Nora Lynn Finch today for our episode Class of 1970 and 1971 at WCU. Four varsity letters as a student athlete at Western.
You're not doing that in 2025.
No, you'd collapse from exhaustion.
That's right. But, what an awesome Catamount. What a great example of, an alumna from this university and continues to pour into her program here and pour into her school in so many ways.
Nora Lynn Finch is a game changer, and we see that in her career at NC State and working with the NCAA.
That's right.
And Stacy, as you know, college athletics has evolved so much since she was an undergraduate here, but she was both at the vanguard of women's sports at WCU.
That's right.
She was there at the very beginning when they were literally stitching it together, and now she's changed the game and she's carrying it forward.
That's right, and changed it on the national level, right? Not just here at Western, but her impact stretches so far beyond just Cullowhee, North Carolina, when it comes to women's basketball, but women's sports in general. So what a great, successful career she has had. And just amazing that she has given so much back to women's athletics. It's great.
So let's go ahead and jump into this interview because there's a lot of great stuff, and we don't want you to wait any longer.
Let's do it.
Nora Lynn Finch, welcome to Western Wednesdays. Thank you for joining us here at Biltmore Park at our Asheville site, and thanks for spending time with us to talk today.
I'm delighted to be here. I have never been to Biltmore Park. I had no idea that Western had this space. Wow, this is excellent.
This is a very nice space
cool.
for our
It is.
students.
And we're here in the midst of classes. They've got classes going on downstairs, so it hasn't quite gotten too busy in the square yet, but the building is busy. There's people learning downstairs.
There's a lot of learning happening right now, and we're going to learn a lot about you as well in the next little bit. And so I wanted to just start off, Nora Lynn, by asking, you are from Henderson, North Carolina, not Hendersonville, but Henderson in eastern North Carolina. How on earth did you make your way all the way across the old North State and find yourself in Cullowhee, North Carolina?
To really set the stage, try to envision no Interstate 40. Okay, so I graduated from Henderson High School in 1966. When one turned 16, one generally did not have his or her own car. Families just didn't do that. They were lucky to have a car in Henderson. I mean, let's just face it. My grandfather had a 1960 Pontiac Catalina. It's the size of this room. It did not have power steering nor power brakes. It had those little hubcaps and black wall tires.
Yeah.
They were not in vogue then. If it were not a white wall, who are you?
Yeah.
You redneck? Yeah, I guess. Cullowhee was so far from Henderson, my parents thought that I had to have that Catalina to get from. Mainly, they didn't want to have to bring me up here or come get me. I'm pretty sure that was it. Let's give her a car. Let's give her a big car. I mean, the size of a room car. She'll be able to put everything in it. We won't have to go up there and move her in or move her out. And it worked. So why Western? It's so far away from Henderson, I'll need my own car.
That was it.
That was first.
That is the most Machiavellian explanation for why go to Western Carolina. Well, because I could
no
have my
secrets.
own car. Yeah.
Second, the guidance counselor's sister had been here.
Oh, wow.
Had not just been on campus, but had attended some classes. She was a teacher. She bragged on the teacher education at Western. Knew I wanted to teach. People in Henderson wanted me to go to Chapel Hill. Oh. Not happening.
Can't do that.
Wanted me to go to UNC Greensboro. The thing was, I didn't feel welcome. So I went to East Carolina, and I didn't feel welcome. My dad brought me up here. We didn't have chancellors at that time. We had presidents.
Right.
And a vice president that was over all of the student affairs, the dining, the residence halls, whatever. Helder and Leatherwood were being built. Dodson Cafeteria was being built. Young people at Western don't know these places. Those dorms are gone, and the dining hall's gone. My dad spent 2 hours talking with that vice president, and my dad fell in love with the people that he met when he was on the campus. Now, I was my daddy's girl. So what my daddy thought, I was going to think that too. And the people I met, they're just warm and welcome, glad to see you. And it was 7.5 hours away from home. I have to have a car. Really good teacher education. I think I'm on to something. When I came up here, the very first day of classes, I was in field hockey was the required women's physical education class. Y'all, really, in North Carolina, there was not a high school in the state that played field hockey. So we're all going to learn it anew on a hill.
Right.
Field hockey.
Right.
On the side of a mountain.
There's not enough flat ground to play field hockey in Cullowhee. What on earth?
So the class was behind Reed Gym.
Okay.
And the physical education majors wore white tunics, and non-physical education majors wore royal blue. Makes perfect sense for purple and gold. I thought, this is logical.
We've come such a long way.
Right.
And I felt very conspicuous right away in this white suit.
And it wasn't a turf field either.
No, and I, to this day, why? I don't know why. I can't answer that. But I really liked the field hockey. Betty Peel was teaching the class. And the class ended, and she said, "Hey, Finch." Y'all, I was not called Finch in Henderson. I was called Nora Lynn. We're going to start a field hockey team, and practice is at 4 o'clock. And I'll see you back here at 4 o'clock. Miss Peel, at 4 o'clock, yes, ma'am. So I'm going through Reed. Helder was right across the street from Reed. Great strategic location for me. So I'm going out Reed to go change clothes, and I hear this man call out, "Finch!" I said, "What is it about this place?" But I know now that's me.
That's me.
I stopped and I turned, and there was Dr. Jim Hamilton, the head of the physical education department.
Yeah.
And he's walking toward me. Well, he had a student and a distant cousin of mine at High Point. And Dr. Hamilton had just come from High Point to Western to be the head of the physical education department. And he knew about me through Judy. And he just wanted to introduce himself. Scared the bejeebies out of me. "Finch!" "Yes, sir." And he said, "Glad you're here. I expect to see a lot of you." And I said, "Dr. Hamilton?" He said, "Yes." I said, "If I see a lot of you, does that mean I'm in trouble? What exactly does that mean to be with the head of the physical education department?" He said, "No, I just want to see you around." I thought, this is really cool. It was divine. It was divinely directed because I did not know enough about Western. I knew things I did not like about the other schools that I had visited.
Right.
And schools where people from Henderson more frequently went. There was a classmate of mine, Nedra Floyd, who came up here too. So there were two of us, all the way from Henderson, up here in the same class. It was perfect for me. It was perfect.
It's interesting that you say that because, you know, we talk about that was in 1966, right?
Yes.
And so we talk about it all the time when we have students on campus now, prospective students, now. And when, James and I get the awesome opportunity to go around and host new student welcome events throughout the summer. Our team goes on the road and does those. And when we talk about what is Western, and what do we want it to be about, and we always come back to it's about the people. And to hear, right, from then all the way until now, we are still saying that. And not just because it's a cliche thing, right? That's who we are.
Right.
Yes.
Lots of places say it's about the people, but
right.
Yes.
But it really is here.
The faculty at this institution didn't stop being a faculty member when class ended. I could go into any professor's office and visit with that person. If I walked on campus and passed a professor, he or she would speak.
Right.
And they knew me by name. And I don't think it was because I was from Henderson. I think it's what they did.
Right.
Betty Westmoreland spent more time with me out of class than in class. And I learned more about being a teacher. She wasn't teaching me how to be a teacher. She was teaching me by talking with me. She loved to do crossword puzzles. And there was a break in my classes. Her office was in Brees Gym. I would go up when she was doing her crossword puzzles, and I have no idea how to answer those questions. But she would talk with me, and she'd say, "What does that word mean to you?" What? It fits in the blank, so I think that's the right word. But imagine that impact. Mm-hmm. Just talking about, especially words that were values. Well, what does kindness mean? What does it mean, help? Is service something you would ever think about? Wow. Just imagine easily 3 days a week for about 30 minutes, one-on-one, with a woman who really loved people. And teaching was an enthusiastic venture for her. And she's spending that kind of time with me. Why? Because I was there. She would have done that with anyone.
Right. So you talked about, you brought up Betty Peel already, and now Coach Westmoreland. So talk to us a little bit, and then Doc Hamilton, about, specific people at Western that you feel like had a significant impact on the career and success that you would go on to have, which we'll talk about in a bit. We'll get into that. But how did they impact you? What kind of impact did they have on you to then get into your success?
Well, I was not aware that Western did not have women's sports teams until Betty Westmoreland, as a graduate student at Western, asked to have the opportunity to get some gals together and practice and play Appalachian. That was a good idea. East Tennessee State, that was a good idea. UT, yeah, that's a good idea. But Betty Westmoreland just had an itch. And when you have an itch, you got to scratch. And I asked her, why would you have done this? She said, it seemed like a good idea at the time. And that goes back to divine direction and divine intervention. We do things, you have a nudge. You have an idea. You think, I have this inkling to do this. Sometimes we say our better judgment, that's not a good idea. But sometimes we follow through and we don't really know why. Right. Betty didn't really know why, other than it was a good idea. But there are women here who are skilled, and they're competitive. And they want to play. And they want to play against other skilled, competitive women. So we were NAI at that time, not NCAA. We've never had money in our athletics budget. We've always been poor financially, rich with the people, poor with the resources. And So the athletics department, they weren't going to take on women's sports. No athletics departments were taking on women's sports. Every women's extramural sports was coming out of the intramural programs and going to club level.
And this is before Title IX. Title IX doesn't happen until 1972, and also worth noting, this is. And I'm sorry I don't have this completely straight. Was it Western Carolina Teachers College at the time or WCC?
WCC. And my sophomore year became WCU.
Right. So this is when you first arrive at Western, we're not even in the UNC system.
Correct.
Right. This is and I know that for a current student listening, that might sound like ancient history. It's not. It is absolutely a relevant part of our modern institutional history. But what it does mean is, to your point about resources, as an institution, Western had even fewer than it does today because it was not part of the system. It was not necessarily part of this bigger organization that helps to gain funding and resources. Not that they would have supported athletics anyway, but I've heard some of these stories about how there's no team bus. It's the coach who is one of the faculty members hop in the back of the station wagon, and we'll all drive over the mountain in the dark of night to go play this game and come home. And there was so much grit and determination in making this happen.
You know, the western part of North Carolina has some tough people. There's a lot of grit, as you say, in the people who live in the mountains of North Carolina. They're kind of standoffish at the beginning. You don't get trust right away because you are in my presence. You have to earn it. Right. And you have to earn my respect. I like that. I got here and I loved the accent. It's a real nice night for a knife fight. And we did. I have no idea what.
Hang on, can you say that again?
A real nice night for a knife fight. And I liked how everybody's just kind of watching, listening, whereas back east, people just chatter. They say things not knowing what they're saying, why they're saying it, what the intent is. Not so much up here. Didn't talk that much.
Right.
Listened a lot. Watched a lot.
Worked a lot.
Worked a lot. Tough. So on the basketball court, tough.
Tough.
Yeah. And I like Western North Carolina. I loved being up here. I loved the integrity of the people here. There was not so much pretense. It's, hey, didn't like you, just pass by. Now, we had to wear beanies as freshmen, and you were required to say hello every time you passed someone on campus. I liked that, too. I had no idea if it was a genuine hello, but I liked the friendliness, and it cultivated, and it carried over to where you weren't being required to say hello, but you wanted to say hello, mainly because there were so few people, you could know most people. When somebody from Canton says, I want to play, it means she wants to compete. She doesn't just want to take a ball and see how far she can hit it or how many shots she can make. She wants to compete, and she wants to beat your butt. Come on, let's go. I like that.
That feeds into, as James kind of started going, right, into, James mentioned Title IX, right? Title IX comes into play 1972. You are just really kind of getting your career wings going, right? And as we know, that part of you, I liked that competitiveness. We know that is what got you into where you were going and the impact that you would begin to make. But at that time, take us back to that time as a young female professional as Title IX is coming in, and what was that like? Because it took grit and determination and competitiveness to make that happen.
The Education Act of 1964 is actually the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and that was integration, integrating our schools. Title IX passed in 1972 as an amendment to that Civil Rights Act. So Title IX is civil rights legislation. When it was being discussed, who knew? Women in sports didn't know that this senator from Hawaii is pushing Title IX. The really key impact of Title IX is that schools were to treat all students, regardless of race, religion, gender, the same, which means blind admissions. Means women could actually eat in the dining hall. You could reside on the campus. What? But first, you could be admitted. When Title IX was passed, Yale, Harvard had one pre-med student, female, admitted to each class. They had a token female. And today, actually last year, we surpassed the number of women admitted into medical schools in the United States and graduated more women in medicine just last year. Now, think how long that took. But you're talking about a climate in the United States where women didn't go to college. Women, and if they did, they were a day student. And they were taking nursing, teaching, secretarial skills. And there were no other choices. That's what you did if you did. And you did not get to eat in the dining hall. You took your sandwich in your little to-go box. All schools were given 6 years to come into compliance. So the law passed in 72. In 78, watch out, the Office of Civil Rights is going to now take a look at this.
Hold you responsible for it, yeah.
But they only would come on your campus if someone reported shortcomings.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to file a suit for somebody to come take a look at it. So I was at Wake Forest. I had played field hockey, volleyball, basketball, tennis here.
By the way, just to interject, you lettered in 4 sports.
Yes.
That's extraordinary.
Yes.
I don't know when you had time to do anything besides go to class and play. And practice and compete.
I'm not telling you everything.
Please don't. And please go back to your at Wake Forest. But I just have to point out, because that is such an extraordinary thing.
Yes.
Lettered in 4 sports?
Okay.
What?
So Troy Charles Huntley, T.C. Huntley from Fletcher, son of an apple grower, was in my class. We dated for 5 years. He played on the JV men's basketball team. He's a point guard, very good athlete, and majoring in physical education. So we had the same classes most of the time together. What a wonderful man. My life would have been very different if I'd asked him to marry me, but it didn't seem like the right thing I was supposed to do. Still old-fashioned.
I love
He was awesome. So what did you do in your spare time? TC and I went over and hit tennis balls. What'd you do? We shot in Reed. We played horse. What do you mean?
Yeah.
He was awesome.
You courted on the court.
It's awesome. So I played 4 sports. Then I stayed for a teaching fellowship in graduate school. So I'm learning my trade. I'm teaching classes while on a scholarship to earn my master's. I loved the teaching fellowship. And I knew before I stepped on the first class floor, I knew exactly what to do and how to do it. I was so prepared to be a teacher. I thought I was, bring it on.
Yeah.
Nobody at Western told me I wasn't ready for that. So I didn't, how would I know? So I got to do all of that experimentation. All the women at Wake Forest signed a petition to the President's Scales asking to start women's sports. 900 women, they all signed a petition. So what do? The athletic director doesn't want to have anything to do with it. No athletics departments had sports, so to physical education they went. Marge Crisp was my direct supervisor. She was 62. I was 22. There was another who was like 48. I was 22. We had nothing in common. And when I needed tape to be able to tape ankles and thumbs, and I was told that I should never tape a Wake Forest woman, that it was so unwomanly, unladylike. You wouldn't ever want to be seen with tape on. So I went down to the football locker room and met the trainer for the football team. And I had been told he was a royal arse, hated women, yada, yada. Well, I came hands out. When you throw the ends of the rolls of tape in the trash can, would you let me get the trash can at the end of the day? Just those little rolls. I'll make stirrups out of 6 pieces if I need to. He looked at me and said, all right. Just make sure you put the trash can back in the corner. Yes, sir, I'll do that. I got to where when I would go, there were whole rolls in there, never been used, but he could see on the field hockey team because we were right beside the football team. He could see what we were doing. He could see, because he walked past women's gym when we had volleyball practice, he could see what we were doing. And he understood I didn't have enough substitutes for somebody to have a sprained ankle and not be able to play. I need to keep her from getting a sprained ankle, and then I need to get her through it fast. He helped me, and the women I reported to resented it. They were very, very unhappy that these women were having a really good time. And then when I needed to reserve the tennis courts for tennis practice, I was told, every co-ed at Wake Forest knows how to play tennis. And you do not need to buy the balls. They can afford their own. And they do not need to practice. They play when they want to play. This is a mistake to be scheduling these courts. And I'm thinking, I'm so cocky, I think I can teach them something. I think if I didn't, playing doubles together a few times before we go into competition is probably a good idea. Oh, they did not like me. So at the end of my second year, for the tennis tryouts, I had a pre-law student who did not make the team, and I selected the team with a ladder tournament. So everybody's playing everybody, and I only have so many courts, so many balls, so many hours. So I took only 8 players on the team, and she was 9th in the ladder tournament, so she did not make the team. She went to Marge Crisp and Doc Casey and said she had changed her classes so that she could be at practice, and now she can't be at practice, and she didn't think that was the right idea. And they thought they could not understand you have a tryout and only the best make the team. And then we're going to practice. We're not just going to run around the court a few times. Right. We have drills to do. We have skills to learn. We have teamwork to develop. So they decided after that season that the next year there would be a committee to select my teams for me, Marge and Dot, a player from last year's team, and I could be ex officio. Well,
how come?
How did that work?
The next that night,
I feel like that went over well.
So many divine interventions in my life. That night, Dr. David Frazier, the president at Peace College, called and said,
"Wow,
do you remember me when you officiated our game with Meredith? You and I chatted." I said, "Yes, sir, I do." Well, Jan Edwards is moving to be our dean of students, and I need a new head of the physical education department, athletic director, but basketball coach, because I want to beat Meredith. I really want to beat Meredith. Yes, sir. Well, are you interested? Yes, sir. Well, when could you come for a visit? is tomorrow good with you?
As a matter
I
of
didn't
fact.
say that. But so we arranged for my going to interview with him, and he hired me immediately to be his athletic director. And he wanted to beat Meredith. And yes, we did.
And there's this misperception by a lot of people now today who didn't live through that, who think or understand Title IX to be that it was just the men who didn't want these things for the women. And that is not true. And you just touched on that. There are a lot of women who didn't understand why this was important and really where this could go and why is it good for girls. Why
Yes.
is it good for women?
Yes.
Why is this needed and necessary? Because they knew what they knew. So it's such a, in my opinion, it's such a misperception of what Title IX really is about.
Did you look at the men's programs and think, well, that's exactly what we should be doing? And it never crossed your mind that would somehow be
Different.
the wrong thing or the different thing?
Yeah.
Or were you looking elsewhere? Were you trying to find, like, what was it intuitive? Was it personal? Like, I know how to fix a sprained ankle. You tape it up. Where were these ideas coming from that you knew were the right ideas?
So in 1969, Western Carolina competed in an invitational women's basketball tournament hosted at Westchester State University. Carol Ekman was the coach of the Westchester State team. Carol Ekman, Hall of Famer, she's passed. She and Kay Yao were considered by the women's basketball coaches in the United States as the model coaches for helping people, serving people, positive with people. Carol Ekman Award is still given today to the coach that best exemplifies those service qualities. So after one of our games in this tournament, I was walking down the corridor. We played in a big field house. And from Brees Gym to the field house was a bit of a transition.
A little bit.
A little bit.
I saw a student grab a handful of dimes off the desk and took the stat sheet, and I followed her. She went out to a payphone outside the building and started calling and reading stats. So I waited. I was curious. What's up? What you doing?
Who did you call?
Yeah, Associated Press. Well, why did you come out here? Well, the school let us use the gym, but no facilities. So we cannot use the telephones. We cannot use the offices. Now, we get the locker rooms and the court, but that's it. Carol Ekman stayed the course. She so wanted to have competition, she hosted the first invitational tournament. The next year, 71-72, the Association for Intercollegiate Athletics for Women was founded and had its first championships. So I was at Wake Forest. We certainly didn't qualify, but the way it was structured, the schools joined the North Carolina AIW. And then the North Carolina was with Virginia, Tennessee, South Carolina, and Georgia. We were Region 2. So we would play in a state tournament, and if we finished first or second, we went to a regional tournament, and if we finished first, we would qualify for a 16-team national tournament. I officiated in that first AIW tournament. It was held at Illinois State. The next year, Immaculata's coming on the scene. Don't need to tell you, Immaculata with the beating the pots and pans. Suddenly, the Catholics are all into this, and this is kind of fun when the Catholics get involved, James. We have a lot of people.
You got a lot of people who come to that game.
And they're enthused.
Mom and dad and all the brothers and sisters.
That's right.
Aunts and uncles,
Mom and
cousins.
dad.
And the nuns had pans and pots, and so the game's kind of getting popular. Okay, The rules with AIW were no scholarships, because scholarships are the root of all evil in men's sports. If you don't have scholarships, you're not going to have cheating in recruiting, because why recruit?
Why would you?
What they wanted to do was take the students on the campus, they try out, and that's your team. Well, we competitive people think, I need to get Stacy. I need to go get James, and I'm going to recruit you. So they said, okay, you can recruit. No scholarships. So that you can have a tryout on your campus, but they pay their own expenses. And then if you like them, you can say, hey, you can come play for me. We did that until there were 2 tennis players, twins, a boy and girl. The girl could beat the boy. The boy got a scholarship to Georgia Southern. They were from Florida. She couldn't get a scholarship because she was a girl. She sued Florida AIW, Region 3, the AIW. The AIW had no money. So they sent out at the time a fax to all of us. We need for you to vote. We're going to remain non-scholarship. We will go to court. We have no money. Number 2, we will allow scholarships. There's your choice. We're going to go to court and we can't pay for it.
Which means...
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Naturally.
Exactly. Right. You're going to have to pay up to pay the fine. Right. So that's how scholarships started with AIW.
That's interesting.
And they didn't want you to go off campus to recruit still. Okay, now we're getting to 1979. The NCAA has a convention at Fontainebleau in Miami. And at that time, the NCAA was one school, one vote. You're all in the same room, divisions 1, 2, 3, everybody. And you go to a microphone, you make a motion, we debate the motion, and then we vote on it with a paddle. We count the paddles. Somebody said, we need to start women's sports. This Title IX stuff is getting out of hand. They're now having scholarships. Not only that, we don't have any control. Those women have their own department. They're not in the athletic department. They're over there in the physical education department. We don't know what they're doing.
The toothpaste is out of the tube.
That's right.
We got to put it back. Somebody, I'm sure it was a faculty rep, had the good sense to say, I need to go back to my campus and talk to my president. And somebody said, and to your women's athletic director. He said, well, maybe that too. But I need to go back and talk to the president and talk to the athletic director and see what it is we should be doing. It's very important to say, had the AIW not been in existence, we would have had no bargaining tool to say, it's fine to have championships. We have championships. We need a vote. Don't know about that. Well, goodbye, because over here, it may be small, but it's ours, and we get a vote. We're not interested in playing in a tournament, an invitational at the end of the year. No, we need to have a voice. And because of that, the NCAA put in its bylaws a percentage of women. They started with representatives of women's sports. I don't need to tell you that men were the only administrators, so we had men on the committees. No, they need to be women. We got that done because of AIW. In 1981, I became the first chair of the NCAA women's basketball. And basketball, the NCAA is very clear, this is the flagship sport. This is where all of the attention is. So basketball, we're going all in. The media never wanted to have to cover women's sports. They're not any good. This is a boring thing to watch. I don't want to have to see this. And I don't want my daughter looking like a boy. I take offense at that. I don't want my son looking like a girl. I take offense at that. I want him to be him, and I want her to be her. And if she wants short hair, I'm all for that. And if that means she's in shape and healthy, and therefore not going to be at the doctor's office or in the hospital, I'm all for that. Today, the game is fast. The game is highly skilled. the officiating has finally said, it's okay if you bump somebody, and just because she fell down, it doesn't mean it's a foul. It has taken so much time.
Yeah.
The media has held us back. At NC State, an NC State alum had a production truck, and Kay and I got him to televise our regular season conference games from Reynolds. And they were on local television. They were Fayetteville station, but they were on Channel 40. The ACC women's coaches were trying to get the conference to do a women's ACC game of the week. No interest. Nobody wants to carry it. You can't get airtime. The production costs are too high. Well, how come NC State can get the games on? I was asked by the Sports Business Journal, what was your most disappointing thing? It was when he called me to say he could no longer televise our games because the ACC had told him they would not allow him to even be considered for any men's events if he continued to carry NC State women. So what do you think that did to me?
Oh, I bet that went over real well.
I did not say, okay, well, I guess we're done.
Understand.
No, I started on the national media. Heck, we can't get it done at home. Let's go then.
That's right.
Go big.
And I went to see John Swafford and told him, I will donate my time to be the talent. And I know I can get Bernadette McGlade to do that too. And we'll help. We will be free. And we did.
Love it.
I've been in Reynolds Coliseum. What a great place. Lots of history there. Exciting place to see a basketball game. And now you are working with some of your friends at WCU. You're helping us make improvements for women's basketball in Cullowhee, in the Ramsey Center with naming a basketball locker room, making sure that the facilities that we have available to our women's basketball players are as good as, if not better than, what's available for our men's team. Tell us a little bit about what inspired you to get back involved with WCU and make those efforts and get those things started.
I was asked. It's amazing to me, Stacy and I have talked about this. There are people who will donate time and donate resources if you ask. I was asked. Judy Stroud called me, asked me if I would join her. It is really important to remember the people who got us where we are. It's so easy to live in the present and to prepare for the future. But if we forget the past, we're going to lose the richness of who we are now. We will miss it. We'll think it's always been this way. No, it's blood, sweat, and tears that got us to where this is. And Betty Westmoreland Surrey, Betty Peel, Helen Hartshorn dedicated money, resources, time. Oh, the time they spent with us. To be remembered with naming that hospitality room for the 3 women and the locker room for Betty is a way of saying thank you. And you know what, Catamounts? We're here because of the people before us. And the people before us have paid a price. This did not come cheaply. It's not all about money. It's blood, sweat, tears. And it's passion. It's real interest in people. This is what Western is. We care about students. So we are donating our time. We're dedicating ourselves. Don't forget it. In fact, make it your model.
If you could go back in that Pontiac and find yourself as first-year student Norlin Finch coming to Cullowhee, you know your dad fell in love with that place, and you knew you were going to as well. And if you could find yourself back behind Reed Gym on that field and come up beside yourself and give yourself some life advice, knowing what you know now, what would you tell that freshman Norlin Finch?
When somebody offers to help you, let them. When someone offers to give you advice, to teach you, listen. If anybody will give you an opportunity to do something you've not done, take it. I did. And I'm living proof it pays.
That's huge. I love it.
Norlin, you are a game changer, quite literally, because you saw the game, you saw the rules, and you made them better, and you've paved the way for a pretty extraordinary piece of history to happen in women's intercollegiate athletics. You make us proud as a Catamount, and we're so grateful that you've spent this hour talking to us. So thank you so much for being part of this.
So invite me back, would you? Let's do it again.
We will.
If Sam keeps renewing us for another season of Western Wednesdays,
We absolutely will.
I think we've got another 6 hours of history that we could talk through with
Easily
you.
that.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
Thank you, James. Thanks, Stacy.
Absolutely.
It's good to be with y'all.
Stacy, first of all, I want to applaud you. I know that this was probably the most excited you've ever been to interview anybody on Western Wednesdays.
It was great. I don't know. I have a great time with all of our alumni that we get to spend time with, but it's hard not to feed off of Norlin's energy, right?
She is something special.
She is such a pistol.
I love it.
And always just, like I said, just packs the energy and brings it with her everywhere she goes. So it's hard not to feed off of that, but that was fun.
It was fun, and golly, what a great Catamount. I mean, I
Golly.
know she spent an entire career at NC State.
Yes.
She's, but still, what a great Catamount.
Yeah.
What a great representative, and also, a great supporter of the program here, the women's
right.
basketball program here at WCU, and that endeavor that they're putting together. And speaking of women's basketball, it's almost tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
It's time
That's
for the
right.
Southern Conference basketball tournament.
In Asheville, always love being downtown Asheville for the SoCon basketball tournament. It's happening all weekend long through Monday night for the men's championship. So
Yep.
if you haven't made plans to get over to Asheville at the Harrah's Event Center, get out there. Make the plans, buy the tickets, get a hotel room, come join us, have a great time.
Grab your WCU gear, head downtown. It's going to be a great event. Can't wait to see you.
That's right. I'll be there.
Yeah, and cheer on the Cats as well.
Right.
I know that this was first season for both Coach Sippis with the women's team and Coach Kraft with the men's team. Always, there's a lot to work on, a lot to improve upon, but I have seen both of those teams really improve so much this season. It's been a lot of fun watching Catamount basketball.
It really has. And watching the growth, right? You appreciate it so much more when you endure these first seasons with coaches and then see where they are,
Yeah.
On year 2, 3, 4, right? Down the road and to be there to support those student athletes as they put so much time and effort into it. So it's exciting.
Wish them the best, and so proud of the grit and the perseverance and resilience that those Cats have had this season. And coming up later this month, March 26th, One Day for Western.
That's right.
It's our big day of giving.
It is. Make one day possible.
That's it. And lots of great opportunities for you to help out WCU with our student mission, both with athletics and also with our colleges. Each of our colleges has a priority. If you're interested in that, oneday.wcu.edu, you can learn more there. You can even make a gift ahead of time and help us kick off and celebrate One Day for Western.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great time. We're excited to put this event together again this year. Rebecca Cheney, our Director of Annual Giving, and her team have done a great job with other campus partners, but excited to be there and support them and all the work they've put into this.
I know you just got back from a trip down south.
Yeah, just got back from Florida. We always love being down in the Sunshine State. Love being at Southern Hill Farms with Lisa and David Hill. What amazing hosts they are to us down there
Just
on the
best.
farm.
Absolutely.
Great.
And you're going to be getting back in the car here pretty soon. You're going to head out east.
That's right, going from the coasts of Florida over to the coast of North Carolina. So we're excited to go see our coastal area Catamounts, as we like to call them. We'll be in Wilmington Friday, April 4th, and we'll be in Jacksonville, North Carolina on Saturday, April 5th.
That's going to be so fun. And I know we don't get too many opportunities to be in Eastern North Carolina. So all of our Eastern NC Catamounts, make a calendar invitation out of this thing. Take your chance to get out and celebrate some Western folks.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
I also have to plug something I'm really excited about, and that's Ballparks and Brews.
Oh, how exciting. You know, we've been doing these alumni nights at Asheville Tourists, alumni night with the Greensboro Grasshoppers. We made a full tour out of it this year. Ballparks and Brews tour set to kick off in May, and we'll have stops throughout May and into June. So be sure to check alumni.wcu.edu for where we will be along that tour, where our tour stops will be and when, and also to find other events going on, you know, like Alumni Weekend.
Alumni Weekend in July. Registration's still open.
Registration's open.
It's going to be a great party.
That's right. We're going to go rafting down the Tuck.
Golly.
Everyone loves that memory of Cullowhee, right?
I know. And actually, you know, I was looking at it. Tuck River cleanup is next month in April. Yeah. And I don't know about you guys, but I have some really fun memories of floating down the Tuck and helping to clean it up and make it fun. It's great to be out, particularly in July. It's going to feel good.
Yeah,
it'll be a lot of fun. Winston-Salem Dash, Hickory Crawdads, Durham Bulls, Charlotte Knights.
That's right.
Great lineup for
Hendersonville
Ballparks.
Honey Crisps.
The Honey Crisps. If you've never, it's a wood bat league.
That's right.
That's a lot of fun.
It's a good time.
Yeah. Well, as always, we want you to like and subscribe and share and do all those great social media things that you know how to do, I hope, because I can't tell you how to do them. For Western Wednesdays, help us to spread the WCU message far and wide. And as always, thanks to our producer, Sam Wallace, for putting together. Thanks also to the great folks at our Biltmore Park site for hosting us for this interview with Norlin.
That's right.
I love Biltmore Park.
Oh, it's great.
It's a beautiful facility. A lot of great programs out there as well. So thanks to our staff at the Biltmore Park instructional site. And Stacy, thank you.
Absolutely.
As always.
That's right. It's a great time.
Thanks for listening. And as always, go Cats.